speaker of this session is going to be Dr. India Marlin. Okay, so for this oral presentation, Dr. Okay, for this talk is oral presentation, so oral presenter will have 20 minutes for each of the presentation. So you have 15 minutes for your presentation and 5 minutes for question and answer.
Okay, then stop me when I'm going too long. So usually I don't need a microphone. I think everyone can hear my voice, right? Okay. So I'm a mechanical engineer, which is strange because I work in biomaterials. But I started as a mechanical engineer. I work on titanium alloys, I work on coatings, I work on ceramics. I'm working a lot on 3D printing and scaffolds and things like that. And my personal hobby is to study about archaeological biomaterials. So ancient biomaterials findings in history. And this is what I'm going to talk to you today, trying to connect a little bit to what Nomura Sensei said this morning in the plenary lecture. Also because I honestly didn't know a lot of things that I'm going to show to you today. But let's start from the beginning. What is a biomaterial? What is a biomaterial changed a lot during time. And we started by thinking that, this is the point, right? That is something that you put inside the human body, doesn't do anything, like that doesn't react, but helps in supporting or change, like an artificial bone or something like that, right? Then we started to say that it can be a substance other than a drug, so we started to think, oh, maybe it can have some beneficial effect. At the beginning we thought that it shouldn't have any biological effect. Then we thought, yes, it can also have biological effects. And more recently, finally, we decided that biomaterials are biomaterials only if they improve the quality of life of the individual. So if you put one piece of nickel inside the human body, that's not a biomaterial because in the end it will poison the person. The quality of life will go down. There's no way to avoid this. But even when we call something a biomaterial, it's not always a biomaterial. This is a very nice titanium 6 aluminum 4 vanadium alloy, best of its category. And the two samples are just the same. Same alloy, same application. After 3 years of application in vivo, you can see some oxidation here. After 2 years, what happened? No one knows. There's still so much we don't know about biomaterials and about what sometimes happens to biomaterials. But let's go back in time. What is the oldest biomaterials we ever found? It's this piece of tar, so basically wood resin, covered by a tiny layer of gold that you can still see there, that we found in Iran, and it's dated back basically 5,000 years ago. And we can call it a biomaterial because it was inside the eye socket, touching the mucous system here. So it has, around here, it has some traces of organic material from the owner, which was a lady, a priest. And this is a very interesting story because she was also not from this region. She was as tall as me, while the average size of the people in that region at the time was like this. So she was a really tall, standing out woman. And it's interesting, but this is even more interesting. 4,000 years ago, in the ancient Peru, we have this kind of gold plates implanted in human skulls, and this guy survived. It's amazing. They didn't have any idea of bacterial infections, how to treat a wound, etc., etc. They didn't even have the proper tools, but this guy had this gold plate here and survived. You might think, oh, one. That's a 1 in 1 billion chance. No, we have hundreds of skull of schools with similar plates around that time. Okay? And amazing, well, it gets better. This piece here that you barely see is a piece of nut. So basically wood put inside a human skull. And also this guy survived, which is even more amazing if you think that wood is an alive material. So inside that piece of wood, there's a lot of things. There's bacteria, there's substances that can leak out, there's parasites, there can be anything. And this guy survived with a nut for brain. No, okay, not for brain, but for skull. A small fragment of. But, okay, wood sounds a little strange, but if we move a little farther away in time, and we go to Egypt and we look at the first book of medicine that was ever written, well, the oldest that we know of, we find that sutures made of fibers, natural fibers, like flax, or cotton were used to close suture wounds. So the chemical composition of wood and natural fibers is not so far away, and we still use these kinds of things nowadays. So, yeah, it makes sense. Wood is more complicated, but they are similar. Then, what about this? I don't even know if I can spot them, but there are 3 pieces of seashell implanted in the bone of this guy here. 1, 2, and 3. And they are completely fused with the natural bone. So this means that the calcium carbonate of this shell was mistaken for bone by the osteoclasts. And it started a bone regeneration process that fused together pieces of seashell, and human bone. And shell is even more dangerous than bone because you know how many parasites and things can be found inside of these things. And clearly, also this guy survived. So, much better chances than we thought. Okay, let's move a little bit to this region of the world. And in the Indian physician, I don't know how to pronounce the name, so I'm sorry, Sashruta, was the first one to report of a skin graft. So a piece of skin from the cheek was used to repair a nose 2,500, more than 2,500 years ago. If you think about the chances to do it now without a sterile environment, without the modern tools, etc., this is incredible. Also, you need to keep the wound clean for a long time in order to do this procedure. 2,500. Another big leap in time to go to my country, Italy. And here we have the Etrurian dental prosthetics. About 2,500 years ago, they were able to substitute human teeth with ivory or animal teeth using gold bands to keep everything together. And these things were so good that people from all around the Mediterranean Sea went to Etruria, that part of Italy, to get this special implant. It was like a jewel. Unluckily, Etrurian had the habit to remove healthy teeth in women because it was a sign of beauty for them. There's always a bad sign. Let's go back to India. And I don't know if you ever saw these ones. These are suture points made with ants. So the bite of some specific ant is strong enough that to close a wound, and it works as a suture point. And this is one case. After India, we had the same technology in Africa and in South America, developed by people who never met each other. Just the idea to having the bite of an ant to close a wound. Another big jump in time, and we go to Galeno, or Galen, which was for Pergamon, that now is in Turkey, and he was the gladiator doctor. He used to fix the ligaments of the gladiators using cotton and natural fibers. Well, it worked 20% of the time, I guess, but but still better than not being able to move your arm again to avoid paralysis. Another jump, and we go to dental amalgams. I really thought that dental amalgams were a new thing, but a formulation which is very, very close to the formulation used, formulation is here, used in the 18th century, was developed in China 1,500 years ago, more or less, as material to repair damaged teeth. So same use, almost 1,500 years ago. Nothing new. Another jump. You might know this guy, is Avicenna. He used to do any kind of science, mathematics, physics, medicine, anything basically. He was a genius. And he was the first one to understand that natural fibers and things like this can be destroyed by the immunitary system when there is an infection. So when there is an infection, the combination of bacteria and immune reaction can destroy suture points and things like this. He was the first one to notice, and 1,000 years ago. Japanese dental prosthetics. George Washington dental prosthetics, made of lead, that we know it's toxic, but it didn't really matter because what is the expected life 200 to 300 years ago compared to now? I mean, in Europe we use lead pipes until last century. So, still poisoning. Giuseppe Ponzi, ceramics and platinum. And so on, until we had Joseph Lister finally telling us how to sterilize things. You probably know this guy. It's a silicone implant, breast implant, and so on. So basically, two things. When it's something that we put in the body and we want to stay there forever without reacting to anything like titanium, we are very good to develop that kind of things. Like ceramics that you put there and you don't need to worry about. But when we want to copy how the human body works, we still nowadays go and look back and use similar methods that we used hundreds of thousands of years ago. The seashells, for example, we still use coral as bone. We just cook the coral to make calcium carbonate, and we use it as a synthetic bone. So, yeah, we went really far, especially with pharmaceutical science. In biomaterials, we are so close to when we started. And thanks for the time. Sorry for going long.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Malineda, for your talk. Next is going to be question and answer session. So we have about 5 minutes for this session. So if anybody has a question, please raise your hand and we will give you the microphone.
It's like learning a lot, no, from your talk that actually the biomaterial has been using for a long, long time. Actually, we really know that already, that the biomaterial is very important to replace the material that we cannot find. You know, like teeth. The real teeth, one is go away, never come back. So we have to have something to replace to make it like more beautiful ever. But the most important thing is when we are working on biomaterial, I just want you to comment on that, is the biocompatible. Actually, one word you already have placed in your slide. Could you comment on what we should expecting on the biocompatible of the biomaterial, if we are looking at that biomaterial in the near future or in the very future, you know, right now. Artificial, like, you know, maybe some of you are come from Korea. You know that one person going to Korea, one face, coming back with another face. So those are all biomaterial, making them differently. So, but anyway, coming back with a beautiful face, but the most important thing is should be biocompatible for a long, long time until they are going to death, right?
Yeah.
So please comment on that.
My comment on that is that there is no biocompatibility. I mean, it's only works for a time. It will always be time dependent. It will always be person dependent. It will always be location dependent. It will always be surgeon dependent. So with so many variables, something is not forever biocompatible. If you need to hope that it's compatible long enough for you. that's my take on this story. Not many people like my position, but I think that biocompatibility has so many questions, so many conditions, and about the teeth, you know the Battle of Waterloo, when Napoleon Bonaparte had fought. So basically, there were so many people dead at that time that they collected the teeth from the dead people and they sold them and they implanted the dead people's teeth back in the mouth of people who needed new teeth. And you can search it online. It's called Waterloo's teeth. Waterloo is the place where that battle occurred. Yeah. So yeah, there's no in my eyes. If you think of as a property of material, biocompatibility is not a property of material. It's a property of a system, and only for a specific time.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, is there any questions?
If you want, I have 100 more slides after this one. And I'm not joking, I mean, I can go on forever. Okay, enough for today.
Thanks, okay. Thank you very much, Dr. Ilian Malin, for your talk.
Right. Good afternoon, everyone. So my name is Siu.